All right, so I'm back here at my desk, and today we're going to be jumping into Lightroom, and we're going to be looking at the presets that I just released. So I just kind of want to give some examples of how that works and also show the way that I edit. Obviously, it's not going to be one size fits all. I view it more as a tool where you can just take a look at what I've been doing and maybe incorporate it into your own work. So that's kind of where we're going to go with this, and let's hop into the computer. All right, so we're in Lightroom, and we're just going to get right into it. So we'll start here. This photo is taken in Utah, I believe. Yes, right outside of Zion. We actually almost got attacked by a bobcat here. I woke up in the middle of the night with this thing sniffing at my head, and right now I'm cropping this. When I see a composition I'm gonna like more right away, I'll just go ahead and crop that immediately. So we'll hop over here to our presets, and we're just going to scroll through these. Right now, the first one that jumped out at me was Utah 2. I'm liking a few more of these, but I think it's going to be hard. Oh, Utah 1, my bad. Utah 1's going to be hard to beat. So once I apply a preset, I'm looking at the photo. What can I fix and change to, get this to a place that I like more, obviously. So right now, I think a lot of these details are just a bit too dark for me. So, and the sky, nothing super crazy is happening up there. So I'm not obsessed with keeping it. So I'm just gonna bump up the exposure. And I like that, but I might kill this sky a little bit, bringing the whites down. And then a lot of times I like to add localized contrast with these brushes here into the shadows, just to keep some of that detail. When you lift them up, sometimes I find it looks a little bit weird, but sometimes I'll brush it onto some foliage as well, just to really bring that out. And honestly, you keep tapping before and after, obviously, because you can get used to things really easily, way more than you think you could. And I'm really a fan of that. So let's move on. All right. Same trip, but this time, California. Again, just making this initial crop here. I've been liking 16:9 crops a lot recently. You normally only see that in like film, but I do really like it on this picture. So let's just fix that real quick. All right, and then we're gonna hop over here. So we're gonna scroll through these, like Utah 1 a lot again. See, they're like these warm shadows that you can, hold on, let me throw that on there. These warm shadows I'm seeming to like a lot. Ooh, I like that. It's really, really even. So what's popping out to me here? I like a little bit too many of these right now. Utah 1 is a little bit more contrasty than Lake Michigan 1, but I also liked Home. I like how it's cooler in there, actually. Was talking about the warm shadows before I even got to this one. But I do also know that Banff was designed for blue hour type shots. So I'm going to apply Banff and cool it down just to get a lot of color contrast going on. So we'll cool that down a bit and apply some green tint there. Normally when you're cooling something down, you do want to have tint go with it because they're kind of joined together like that. So I actually like the tones we're getting at this point, but I want more contrast in the shadows again. So we'll go ahead and do that. because that's it seems really easy to lose to me. And I'm just going to do it in the foreground there, really emphasize that. I might bring the luminance down on these yellows a bit. Probably not. So I like that. Something else we can do over here is fix these little things in the road. We're going to have to move that around a bit. With the clone stamp. Looks pretty good. Couldn't even tell if you didn't know it was there. And then we'll drop these blacks a bit, because if you look at the, I'm trying to point at my computer screen. If you look at the blacks up here, they're not quite at 0. So I'm going to go ahead and bring those down, because that's going to add more contrast back into the shadows. And we'll play around with the shadow slider a bit, but not a whole lot. And I am pretty happy with that. We'll slide the white balance around just one more time, and I think I am going to warm it up just a touch, which means tint comes right there. Next one. All right, another shot from California. So we're actually very, very lost in this picture. So we are trying to find Redwood National Park. We'd never been. And we could not find it, and ended up in this forest, which actually worked out great for us. So, ooh, I like that a lot. Both of these. I think I'll probably go with one of those. Even Belle Isle's pretty good. We'll go with home. And honestly, for this, no, we'll leave the exposure the way that it is, and we'll throw a radial filter on here, and bring the rest of this image down. We're gonna boost up the feather a bit, and go ahead and do that. I'll actually add some contrast, because that's gonna become shadows, and a little bit onto the grill maybe. And that's a very good photo in my opinion. Maybe we'll drop that. Yes, it was moderately cold, at least for the summer, so we'll make some white balance changes here. And again, huge fan. So we'll keep moving. Now this photo here, I've always had a tough time editing. It's not the best lighting. It's the middle of the day. It was a little bit cloudy, but not super cloudy. The sun was peeking in and out of the clouds. So we will see what we can get here. I'm just scrolling through these again. When I'm looking at this, I obviously know that I need something flatter because of all the contrast in the raw file. So we'll go over to Banff. That's going to be a little bit flatter. It's really going to warm up the shadows. And this is also Banff, so it works. Also, I just found the greens to be really warm and inviting there. So we're going to keep that as opposed to making them more green. Brush some contrast into these trees here, a little bit over here. And yeah, we'll go here as well, just not in the brighter areas. So these clouds kind of, yeah, I think that's a good way to fix that. All right, drop the blacks a touch, shadows up. Actually, this, when you bring the shadows up and the blacks down, that's going to increase contrast in your shadows as well. So sometimes I'll do that, and then let's just play with these highlights a bit more. I don't know, I kind of like it right there, and see what we can do with the whites. Yeah, I could be happy bringing those down a bit, and just a touch more contrast since we did flatten it out so much. And moving on. All right, I already know it's the same sort of situation here. it was. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and make that crop, and we'll hop over here and we'll start moving around. I already know exactly what preset I want here, just because it's the middle of the day. No, it's not the middle of the day here. This is early morning, but that sun was still pretty harsh. I mean, it wasn't very early morning. It was, probably about 10, 11, but looks pretty harsh to me right now. So a preset that I'll choose pretty frequently there is Lake Michigan 2. Yeah, Lake Michigan 2. Because on those daytime shots, I really like having super bright highlights and dark shadows. So that's kind of what this is made for. I think it works really well with harsh shots. So we'll brush some contrast into our trees once again. And actually this bottom here is pretty hot, so we'll go ahead and drop a grad filter on there and just mess with the exposure just a bit. Up in the top here, this is something we can also mess around with just because it's not, I don't know, it's a little bit distracting to me. Not really worth a sky replacement in my opinion. I do like the way that this photo is, but another cool thing that I learned a few months ago, I think during quarantine probably, that you can use color and luminance masks within your grad filters. So you just go down to the bottom, pop on a luminance mask. I'm gonna click on show that so I can get a pretty good reading on that, and then you can just slide that up till you get the area that you want. Normally I'm using that tool on skies or something similar. Let's see what's in the sky. Those clouds don't do anything for me. So I think actually what I'm going to do is just bring the whites down a bit, so that it just kind of kills it. We'll drop the highlights a touch, just get a little bit of detail in there, but not crazy about the sky again, so pretty much just going to leave it. Still a touch distracting, but like I said, it's not totally worth it to me. I do still like this picture a lot. So we'll brush over Miles there. You did a good job. All right, and we'll raise that exposure a bit, just till we think it's a little bit too much, and then we'll drop some contrast in there. And that's going to make him stick out a bit more, and even that exposure can drop. Yeah, that's great. I like that a lot. I remember this was my favorite picture for a very long time. This is from Hawaii last November, and it was an awesome trip. It was great. So again, I think I'm gonna go with the 16:9. White balance looks pretty good so far, but this area here, I know from editing this previously, could be an issue. So we'll hop on over to our presets here and scroll through. Those, like you see here, those really harsh greens are what I'm going to avoid here. And that can be done in HSL, but I know that we also have presets that warm up our greens just a touch while still leaving them green. So we're gonna find those. This is too warm here in the shadows for me. Astro I'm not sliding over much because that's made specifically for astrophotography, which we will get to. I think I'm liking Belle Isle, and let's see. Yeah, I think we'll go with the Utah one again. I like that. It's funny, I actually haven't used this this has been one of my lesser used presets prior to recording this. But that's just how it goes. So we'll keep moving here. And honestly, all I think I'm going to do here is drop the highlights a bit. Get those clouds back because I do like these ones. So we'll mess around a touch, but I'm like, the light was so good here. It's hard to screw this one up. So yeah, maybe we'll play with the greens a touch, but no, I like it. Drop some. The one thing that is bothering me, if I really did like it all the way, I wouldn't have been messing around here. Is the lack of contrast between the sides of this hill here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add just contrast to this side, and when you toggle that on and off, it's gonna darken it down a bit for you. We could even raise the luminance of our yellows here to mess with that, but just a tiny bit, or you end up with that. So we'll keep them there. I like that. All right, Toronto, amazing city. This one again, 16:9. Like I said, I've really been enjoying this, and we are going to scroll through these presets now. Banff, definitely a good one for this, I know, because it's just good for warming things up, and this is a pretty blue photo, but I do think I'm going to stick with the blue because my goal here is to just enhance what's already there. So obviously this is a picture of Toronto, but honestly, I don't think I like that one the most right now. I'm looking mainly at the blues in this little gate in front of our two subjects here. So I think I want something that's slightly more green when it comes to our blues. Not going to use Utah one again, even though I was reaching for it. Lake Michigan 2 we've already used. Home wasn't bad. Belle Isle's pretty good. Yeah, Belle Isle's pretty good. Alright. And we're just going to hop into our exposure right away. I know this is going to be a little bit too warm here for me. Mess with this. And drop that. Yeah, I like this, but I think that blue is a little bit too much for me right now. I do like it. However, I don't think we need to add more saturation in there. What does this look like? That's yellow there. We'll bring the yellows back to 0 as well. I like that. Yep, that's finished. One thing you could do, if you were really getting picky with it, is coming down here and really separating your foreground from your background. I do this either with the foreground or the background moderately frequently. So what I'll do is brush out just one of them and then darken or lighten down whichever one I'm going to be trying to emphasize. So on a portrait, that's going to obviously be your person. For example, this isn't a portrait, obviously, what I'm about to talk about, but we did that with our photo of my terrain. We added that radial filter, but here what we could do is drop that exposure a touch. We could have also done that with the shadows, honestly. Got a little bit too fancy there, but regardless, I enjoy it. And I do like the blues now, but this could use a bit more pink. That yellow's a bit green. Again, you can mess around with that in the HSL, but a lot of times if I'm just trying to change one thing, I'll go straight to the brushes. So again, cropping right away. There's just too much sky in there for me right now. This, I think, is also one of my all-time favorites. It's just super simple. It was a really peaceful morning and one of my favorite projects ever. So again, I'm gonna go through these and kind of want to keep the color of the dock. So like Utah 1 isn't gonna work. I think it made it a little bit too pink. So already knocking that off. So let's see what we got here. I have a hard time with this part, just deciding a direction to go with the picture, especially when it's old pictures, because I have a lot easier time editing newer photos because I'll remember very easily, what the direction was, the colors that I saw when I was there and all that. But when it's older like this, obviously I still remember the time, but like the emotions they're gone and they're further away. So it's tougher to incorporate into the edit. But this one, I think I'm going to go with Toronto here. Warm it up a touch. What I was seeing there at the beginning was these are just too blue for me. So warm it up. Then we're dealing with what I was talking about with the docks. So we'll warm it up here. Get our exposure right, and then we'll hop onto HSL. Drop the blacks a bit. Raise the shadow to the touch. And I like where we're at with the exposure. So what you can do here, it's kind of cool, is you can tap on this here, find an exact color that you want to change, and you can just move that around just like that. So from what I've seen there, we want to move these a bit more to the yellow side. Let's see what this does. And we'll move our yellows a bit to the red. Normally when I'm changing a color, I like to have the color above or below it move in the opposite direction. Just to have a bit more control over it, so you're changing two things instead of one to change one thing. It makes it less simple, but you have more control. Actually, yeah, I like it here. All right, so we got ourselves a skiing shot here. I'm gonna go ahead and fix the crop. Always straighten your horizons, please. Drives me crazy. Yeah, I like that crop. And we're gonna scroll through these. Like the greens on Utah 2 a lot already. Toronto's not bad either. Lake Michigan had a little bit too much contrast there for me, and really like Utah 2. Instantly gonna drop these highlights because of all this snow here. So I'm gonna start with that. Normally I would never do that, but I just know that with this amount of snow, you're gonna want to do that. So bring the shadows up and blacks. So most of your editing is really just gonna be understanding the relationship between these sliders here. It takes a lot of time to learn, a lot of experimenting, but definitely worth it. So I think what I'll do here is add contrast into our subject. So right now we're making a mask so we can edit her individually. You can see that there, pressing O. A little rough, but when you're editing something like this, it's tougher to tell. You're not going to see the tiny bit of contrast that's around her head in those trees. So we'll go ahead into these ones here. Could definitely use a bigger brush. I think we'll end up doing is actually drop it. Nope. Because what I'm trying to fix here is this tree on the left. Not a fan of how dark that is. So I think I'm just gonna raise the shadows, bring the highlights down a bit. Yeah, it doesn't look like there are many highlights in there, so add some contrast, bring the exposure up, and drop those shadows. So bringing the highlights down and raising the exposure is indirectly going to raise our shadows a touch, but not super aggressively. You know, now that I look at this with the contrast, it doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily need to brighten that up. We just need to make all of these trees here more even. And I think we've just done that. So we'll go ahead and brush. I know these need contrast. These look a little bit bland to me back here. Skin tones are good. Sky up there is doing something interesting. It's a little bit dark, and that I enjoy. Go ahead there. Beautiful. Big fan of this picture. This is, I don't know. I don't think this is my favorite picture. No, definitely not. But I do like that shot a lot. It's very simple, to the point. Astro. Raise the exposure. Bring out all those details in the road. I love this. Obviously, it's made for this. I'm going to enable my profile corrections because of the fact that this was shot on 14 millimeters. So we'll enable those. That's going to brighten your picture up a bit. I'm going to kill this a touch. Oops. We're just going to touch the highlights here. And then when we get up into this, a lot of times I like to create a mask for my sky. So I like to make two. So first I'll come in here and I will pick a dark area. So you look at the luminance mask and you can see that our stars are not selected. So we got something else getting selected over here in the road. So let's see. We're gonna brush option, and we're just gonna brush away what we got going on over here. I just want to be affecting the dark parts of the sky, because a lot of times I'm a big fan of keeping things really, really minimal, really, really subtle, and just letting whatever happens on set, show, and emphasizing the colors that are there, all that. You probably heard it a billion times from other photographers too, but for Astro photos, I do like to get in here and get a little bit more into it. So generally I'll start with that process. We're going to need to press O there, see what we're actually doing, and we're going to drop our shadows, raise our highlights. Honestly, we may not even need to touch the stars there. Yeah, this is doing what I want it to. So darkening up, what did that do? Where are our highlights in this dark part of the sky? I like that. A lot of times just really sliding things around and seeing what works. So bring the exposure up a bit and the contrast. Very happy with that Astro. I just love, love, love the color it gives the night sky. All right. Almost died on this day. This is a great day. Not because I almost died. That sounded absolutely awful. This was a great day. It was fun. There was about 2 feet of snow. We were lost in the Rocky Mountains and ran into some issues, but it's a pretty cool picture of me. If I don't, I'm gonna stop saying that. Scrolling through these presets again, talking a lot. Banff, I do like how it warmed me up. I may just end up brushing that on. Lake Michigan 1 seems like a milder version of that, so we'll go with it. I like it. I already know that I want to make a selective brush on myself, so I'm not paying attention to that exposure right now. Definitely need to enable these corrections here with how muddy it's making the bottom of that frame look, and drop that again. Cool. Then we'll hop over here. And honestly, I think this is the only real part that needs any brightening is in here under the hood. So like that, I'll bring my blacks down a touch, add a little bit of contrast. No, leave the contrast alone. I like that. All right, New York on a busy weekday. This was taken right before the pandemic. I watched it begin in New York City. This was March 4th. It was pretty crazy. I've been talking about that trip all year long, just watching everyone slowly start wearing masks on the subway and all that. It was pretty scary. But definitely going to use the NYC preset there. I already know that. You can get good looks out of these other ones here, but I know that NYC is going to be the preset for this shot. So that's honestly kind of perfect right there. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, we got a picture during quarantine at this point. Yeah, this is at my house, so that makes sense. That home looks incredible off the rip. Banff too warm. Belle Isle, that skin tones just didn't in this lighting. Not a fan of the skin tones. New York, never a huge fan of the skin tones, but it looks really good on city shots. Let's see. Utah 2. Go with home. I like this preset a lot. It was made for portraits, so you're always gonna find the skin tones to be pretty acceptable on this one. It definitely prioritizes that. Whereas stuff like New York, as I mentioned, skin tones were not the priority. So ones that I think are very good for portraits are going to be Belle Isle, Home, Lake Michigan 1, and Utah 2. So that has been the video, and I hope that you've learned something. I hope that you see the value in these presets. I know that I personally in the past have used so many presets as a learning tool. And, these ones are really made to be minimal, adaptable, and for any skill level. So, it's changes to your colors, and that's normally what I'll base my first preset pick off of. And then from there, I'm going exposure and messing around with the tones a little bit in the basics panel. And these a lot of times won't require more than that. So, you saw that a lot throughout the video, and you even probably saw some of those local adjustments. So, those can be picked up, and all it really is experience. So realizing what you like, developing taste, and kind of building that into the presets for yourself, and using it to create your own style. So they're not to be copied. They're just a learning tool, and also hopefully will provide you some value in just creating better pictures. So that's what I hope to accomplish with these, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video. We'll see you next time. And if you'd like to, and I'd love you to, the presets are going to be below, so you can go check those out if you're interested for more, to see a little bit more details on them and all that good stuff. So have an amazing day, and thank you for watching.